what is the question that most of real estate agents are busy to ask themselves?
Are you actually the CEO of your business? Have you hired a very, very fast, very, very polite digital secretary that you still need to tell exactly what to do every single day, every single morning?
Exactly. The second things, have you ever been at the kitchen table with the home seller who is ready to sign and felt that you're sinking the moment of friction where you have to go back to the office and update your numbers and basically handing to them 12 hours to talk to themselves out of it?
And here's the thing, most people, when they hear about Claude, they're telling you about co-work, but they're thinking automated because you're chatting with Claude, but this is a different script. Asking for a summary, asking for a CMA breakdown, asking for whatever it is you need,
But if you are the one who has to open the app and start the conversation, you are still be a manual laborer. And you are the middleman between your data and the result that you wanted to accomplish.
But you're basically managing a dialogue. So here we're moving beyond the chat window, beyond the conversation going on forward. And I mean, the conversations have been great with AI, but now we need to move it to the next level. And welcome to Claude Code. This is the agentic system. So when you are at that table with the sellers, we're going to talk about how fast and you're going to look so professional, not just scratching papers and moving papers around. Like, it's going to all be digital and it's going to flow. So that lead feels completely enriched. The strategy is on your desk before you even wake up. But first, we have to go through some definitions.
Exactly. Therefore, before we tap into how this Claude Code is helping you to build that automation system that you basically always seems and a smart guy that you have the answers on your fingertips, we wanted to talk about the basics and principle.
Okay, so I thought I was going to stop into my codes. All right, so number one, co-work. This is what everybody talks about. This is when you're chatting with the cloud on your browser, your desktop app. This is very reactive. This is conversational. This is great for your one-off questions that it doesn't have to be systematic. But what is Claude Code?
You say
Claude Code is your agentic product, and this is where I spend all of my days working out ideas. And basically, everything I do now is become a system. It reads the files, runs the scripts, hits the eternal bases through your connections, schedules itself, executes multi-step work without you babysitting and without you having multiple conversations. So basically, you've moved on from the analysis tool which is the feature inside of chat, which runs on a Python. And this is really, that's not agentic, and that's not enough. So we really need to go with how everything works together. Claude Code plus your skill, plus your scheduled routines, plus your server, which is your computer. And that is all the things that kind of make Claude work together. And you already have Claude Code if you pay for Cloud. You have skills if you pay for Cloud. You have scheduled routines if you pay for Cloud. And your MCP comes from your computer. So if you have a laptop or a desktop, you're ready to rock with all of this stuff, which is great.
And you see that my wife is so excited to talk about all of this cloud. The second is a hard-coded warehousing overlay. And basically,
let me explain a little bit more with that too, if you don't mind. Okay, so basically with Cloud, we are real estate agents. So one of the first things you're going to do with Claude Code is make sure everything it will produce for you is coded with our laws and rules. So you want to make sure the rules are there before it even starts producing, and it can still kind of stray. So you want to always kind of make sure rules are there. We follow rules every single time. You have to be a rules girl or guy. And in Cloud, you're going to do this, and this is how you set up your rules. And that's really what I use the housing as a set of a rule.
Exactly.
So number one, you're going to have Cloud tell it to research this and then save it as a memory. You say a memory file. So you must keep it as a memory. Then you're going to say create a skill based on that memory.
Exactly.
So step one, memory. Step two, skill for that memory. So therefore, anything you're going to do with your CMA, anything we're going to talk about in our series, all of that has to have that skill involved before any other tasks come into play. And then the hook is going to be how you're going to execute. So make sure you are having something that's going to, and for fair housing, this is a hook that we're always going to make sure is there, because obviously we're not going to talk about schools and safety because that's something we can't talk about with our clients. You want to make sure that is embedded in there, and that's why I said that. And that's why we're not just saying the AI has to be careful. You're putting a gate up that says before we do anything, we have this memory and skill, follow the rules.
Exactly.
So
basically, based on all this that my wife said, now you can update a listing presentation just live at the kitchen table and hand it to seller and hand him even the contract before you finish even your coffee if they offer. I'm not sure if that seller is gonna offer you coffee, but before you finish your coffee.
So basically we're gonna have to make sure that you have a system. So let's just quickly go through this. And we're gonna talk a lot more. I'm just using fair housing as a way to say this is a system that you real estate agent, and then we're gonna get into the really fun ones like Canva and how we can have systems for everything. I'm always working on systems now. So first one is you want to make sure that your automation is legal and there's no process and nothing happening that's not going to be legal. In co-work, you ask your AI to help you find the leads and you hope the chatbot gives you some reason logic. Now that's a safety feature and a gambit. Honestly, it can give you bad answers and give you real time. And you don't want to gamble at scale. That is not what we're doing with Claude. Claude Code, we have a logic gates right up front. Keep it in memory. I told you, you have to have a memory. You have to have the fair housing skill, and then you have to have that hook before any data comes into you that you're following these rules. Maybe there's also specific rules on cold calling that we're going to talk about. But you want to make sure in going into your bold trail, your CRM, which is what I use or we use. So you want to make sure that the overlay is not just a vibe, it's actually working as the gatekeep for everything else that you do. Exactly. So I would just make sure.
Exactly. Basically, on the CRM part, when the Claude Code is analyzing thousands of the real estate lead, including home buyers, home sellers, or even investor, and to find the equity, for example, opportunity for those home sellers, it does it through the blind logic, focus on the financial data and also property characteristics only.
Now, basically, you want to make sure that it's not just that you're a good person. Business side, we have to be legally bulletproof, which is why I'm using fair housing as our bulletproof, because you want to make sure that your systems are actually always following rules. We want to make compliance, which is pretty boring, before we actually focus on any of the fun stuff that we're actually going to talk about. Now, let's talk about co-work and code a little bit more with that divide.
Exactly. Therefore, basically, co-work is the chat interface that my wife in the beginning of this video was explaining, and Claude AI is in your browser or the desktop app that you're having. For example, my wife used the laptop, not the desktop. And this basically is a collaborative back and forth what you are doing. And you give it a prompt and it gives you basically response back to that prompt that you do.
And even if you tell it to act like a real estate agent, you're still waiting for it to be reactive to the answer questions that you ask. It's a tool. That tool is amazing. I've used it. But let's talk about the next better thing that we can talk about, which is code. So say I have a skill. Maybe I'm running a scheduled routine. I'm running hooks. I'm running MCP connector. I have my connected, how it's giving me my MLS data. Your CRM is connected. Your email is connected. Your calendar is connected. Your tax records are connected. Whatever you want to connect. Now you're not being told how to walk through. I've set up a system to when he can go to a listing presentation and you can just say, hey, this is numbers. What do we think about this number? And have like a real conversation before you ever walk to the thing. And then the system's there. He said this number. Now he's going to write up all the paper professional. Now the agent who doesn't know how to do this is missing the destination point, and you need guardrails in order to get to how everything is going to be automated in our business. And I'm really working hard to make everything automated. But when you move your business to Claude Code, you're not chatting about a lead. You're letting the system enrich it, verify it, prepare an output. So now I can just tell you really quickly, when I add a lead to our listing thing, I automatically have Claude going through Facebook, going through Google, going through what all my other systems that I can think of to really tell me a little bit more about this phone number and email before I ever make a call. I used to have to look this up manually. Now I don't have to look anything up manually, because the second we say Amy Adams 252, whatever the phone number is, here, this is the email, amyadams@whatever.com. Now it's going to be able to look all of that stuff automatically because I just put in the information that I was given.
Exactly. Basically, in a nutshell, the co-work, as my wife's saying, is like a conversation. You give them the prompt, it gives you back the response. Claude Code, that my wife is really the big fan, is basically putting the system and executing that system that we were talking about.
So if you're at the gym, your system is still working for you. It's not co-working along with you with technology. It is the ghost of the machine that's working. So let me just, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, and I started with something very simple with the fair housing, but we're going to go into a little bit more in this whole series, I promise. Now, when you wake up, you check your leads, you see what's going on, you open maybe the tax records on your county, you open your CRM, maybe you open up the other place, you ask your CRM, maybe you're going into your co-work or your whatever chatbot you're using, and you ask AI to summarize, copy, paste, rinse, repeat, and then you're gonna use that information from elsewhere. Now, Claude Code is different. You're gonna on your computer, you already have that. All of that enrichment's already up. You already have that system already set up. The lead entered your base at 3 o'clock in the morning. You wake up to all of that information before you even open your eyes. So yes, you have to have the fair housing overlay. I talked to you about how we do that, but basically you're putting in the lead, and then it's going through the data that you already have. What were the former MLSs? What is your county records? What is your CRM tell? What everything your CRM can get for you? Here's your debt to equity on that house. What's the lien data that we can get on this house? How do we cross-reference that property to the value vault? How do we flag maybe probate situations? All of that stuff will automatically be in there the second that you put, if that lead came in at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 3, maybe 10, all of the lead has been fully enriched, and you wake up and you've done your morning, and now at 8 a.m. you wake up, you're not researching that stuff anymore. You already have the full dossier.
Exactly.
And it happened when you were sleeping.
Exactly. And that's how you close basically consistently the gap by removing the manual labor that you are doing for many hours. See how much time you save in a whole week, and you can focus on more lead generation and trying to get actually more in your pipeline, as the cloud is doing all the heavy duty labor intensive work for you on the back end.
Now let's talk about that kitchen table at my hand today, right? So basically, he hasn't seen the house. We talked about it 123 Main Street before we ever got there. We already have our basic numbers, and now he's walking around and he's saying, "Oh, I see a finished bath or a full bath instead of a half bath. I see the house down, that house down the street closed for $20,000 more because it had more square footage, and now we see that this house has added square footage. Now you don't have to go, well, let me go back to the office, run my CMA, get the new net processes, let's think about this. No, you don't have this time anymore. You're kind of inputting this as this thing. Be like, hey, we said this, what is the numbers? And you already have your system set up where how you would do your price analysis skill. And then it's really one command. You're on your phone, you open up your app, right? You open up your app, and then the app is going to be the cloud app. You're going to connect it to your computer. It's going to run your skill based on the price analysis that you run. And then basically it's going to now be pulling the MLS data that you've connected to it. You've already probably pre-programmed it because you were talking about 123 Main Street. It's verifying the permits into the county. I do that all the time.
That's the crazy part. That
right,
you can pull all of the permits from the county.
It was happening automatically. And then you're also running the valuation methods and the comp data. And really now live action, you're seeing your listing value vault is going up, and it's not just you looking at the data and saying, well, that house sold for $20,000 more and a bathroom probably okay. You're now getting the data as you're walking the house. And so when you do sit down to have a breakfast, to just have that conversation with them, and it's going to be comparing, you've already connected it. So now that skill's already worked for you. You already kind of see your numbers that you're probably working on. The permits are already there. The permits aren't there. These are new conversations you can have live in person. And then you can run the conversation via the comps while you're sitting there talking about it. And then how we can fix it. Maybe they just have to go to the permit office because of one thing. Maybe it is a lot of work that they have to do. But it's something you're going to have a conversation about because you pulled it up live.
Exactly. Therefore, while you're basically sitting at the table and sipping your cup, basically you and building the relationship, basically, as my wife said, on that spot, you already run the code, you got the evaluation, you basically communicate with them with everything about the listing, which always also is part of the Claude Code, and run the numbers. Now you have the listing with the new numbers. If they agree, now you can send them, hey, Do you agree with this? Let's sign it right now.
Opposite. Let's say you're walking a house with a buyer and they're like, wow, we love this bathroom. And there's nothing in the MLS about this bathroom or whatever. So you're looking at it and you're like, is this permitted? Now you can kind of quickly run your same analysis that you would have done and have it checking records. So while you're sitting there talking about this house, you'll be able to connect to your computer, get all of that data. So when you're turning around to say, here's the valuation I see, here's the updated contract with all the information, you're now sending that digitally, and now you're not asking for help. You have talked about it. You have a machine doing the work while you're talking, which is great.
Exactly. Now we wanted to talk about what is the architects versus the hunter. This is changes your identity. The industry is built up actually the hunter paradigm. And for example, you wake up, as my wife said, you want to hunt the leads, you hunt the data, process the paperwork, repeat. And these are all linear and very exhausting. And it's like a commission treadmill. When you move to the Claude Code, you become an architect, you become a creator, and that architect doesn't lay the bricks. The designing the system makes sure the brick actually laid out for you very correctly every single time, and your value is the blueprint for any client that you're serving.
So your Claude Code is basically your construction crew in this situation. You might be the architect, this is what I want to do, this is my design, but your construction crew is now working in your computer for you, and you don't need a virtual assistant. You need those 4 things I talked about at the beginning. Cloud, code to actually work. There's a couple of steps to it, and then making sure you have a laptop your phone can connect to. Apple's super easy about it all, but I know all phones are pretty easy. So basically we moved out of the way to where you don't have to hustle anymore, where we can actually step back and create systems that scale. And this can be done with social media, it can be done with our processes. So to make sure that AI is present for the kids, you want to be present for the kids, you have to make sure that you're setting up your AI and you're setting it up properly to where it's doing the work for you instead of conversating with you. So prosperity happens when systems are more consistent than your feelings. Because maybe you're tired that day, but if you're consistently showing up and it's making sure you show up, you will be more productive.
Exactly. Basically, in our small group training, we focus on the small, consistent actions and the secret to the long-term success that is taking those action and coding them so they become permanent for you. They create a system for you that you don't need to always think about and hassle about everything that you do.
Now, if you're having a system that checks your market every morning and it's sending in a scheduled routine and you're getting email of everything there, now you're running things on logic. You're filling in the buy box opportunities. You're dropping them in the inbox, and you're preparing. Its system is setting up your market data, your market updates, and how that's going to feed into your social media and feed into whatever you do. And it's also making sure that you're always staying on top of the anniversary dates, making sure people are getting their live data that they asked for, and drafting updates in your voice. So that's a key. You have to make sure we set up your voice, which is something we're going to talk about too. Now, make sure instead of hunting down the probate leads, now you have a way to grab them because the records are coming in, overlays are there, skills are there, and the dossier is already in your laptop waiting for you for when you wake up.
And stop really being a collaborator with all these tools that we were talking about, and we start to being an owner of the engines of our business. That's what we are talking about, because you want it to be owner, not a collaborator or worker for something else.
So basically, we're working very hard to be architects for our business. We're creating more systems every single day in our business. I was telling him about my new system I was creating on video. Like this morning at the breakfast, I have this plan. It will be executed this week. And it's not about chatting anymore. It's about having a systematic tool and making sure you have a value vault, turning it into an agentic system, making sure you have a relay, which was my example in the first one, because again, that is something that we all have to have. And then you aren't running your business based on enrichment, getting the updates and making sure your contracts are being executed while you get to live your life. So systems and automation are here to stay. They're actually only going to get better over time. And while we're really building our systems to go all the time without.
Here's the step. If you wanted to owning your engine, your own business, the next step would be going to the link in description below. And this description below is going to head you to our website, our link that you can book an appointment with us about the system automation audit with the prosperity agent, with Alan Victoria Pinder, with EXP
And you get
Realty.
all of this for free when you join me at EXP.
And don't forget to subscribe in our channel, watch all of our video, and we are here to level up your business to the next level. We are here for you. Thank you and talk to you soon.